Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is John, the firearms instructor. And what you're seeing on the screen right now is tomorrow night's Valentine's at 6 p.m. We're having a Valentine's concealed carry class. If you got nothing else to do and you're in the Lee County or Cape Coral or Naples area, we'd love to have you. Each Valentine will receive a box of chocolate, a rose, and the full concealed carry class. Well, there are about 6 spots left. You can visit our website to join us. We'd love to have you. Speaking of that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our live. And this is kind of unique now because YouTube has podcast as well. So we're calling this a live podcast because once this is done, it's going to go on our podcast channel and allow it to be looked at through YouTube Music. So if you're looking for the audio of this or the video of this, you can actually travel around and watch all of our lives back to back to back. Um, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad you're here. If you don't know who I am, my name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida, where we specialize in you. We specialize in the first time shooter. Help you pick, use, and understand how to run a gun properly. We are a gun range and gun store in Southwest Florida. We're in Cape Coral, which is a beautiful Cape Coral, is what we call it, and that is on the southwest side of Florida, a little bit between Tampa and Naples. Fort Myers is our big city here, and Cape Coral is where we are at. And we are a 5 lane training facility. And my job or my passion is to teach new students how to become more proficient with a pistol. We take them from never shooting a pistol before, maybe taking a concealed carry class, maybe coming to become one of our members and shoot on a regular basis. We do a lot of different stuff for you guys. We're looking for members all the time, and we want to invite you to come see us and do everything. We have a full YouTube channel. We have a Facebook pages. We are live tonight. We are podcasting and live with our YouTube channel and my 2 Facebook pages, my personal Facebook page and my business Facebook page. And we would you know what you got to do tonight. We want to know where you're from. Comment, please. Let me know what state or city you're from, where everything is. And let us know if you have any comments or questions. We would love to answer them for you. Like I said before, the 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 Valentine's thing we have available. If you're looking for something great to give somebody, we do have our gift cards. Those are available in any kind of monetary amount of money that you can get your significant other, whether it be training class, range time, ammo, or anything else you're looking for. We would love to get you that. And we do offer an email gift certificate situation as well. So we can actually, you don't, if you get busy tomorrow and you can't make it here to the store, we can actually email you a gift certificate as well, which would work for. We do have our couples basic pistol class on sale right now. It's our website special, which is not 198.99, and that physically gives you firearms training. It gives you the online concealed carry class, and it gives you one-on-one training with me. And that gives you the ability to, if you, let's say you don't own a pistol, it'll give you the opportunity to pick a pistol that you like and then figure out what's the best for you. And that would be an ideal thing as well. I would highly recommend that if you haven't shot before, those are probably one of the best things you could do. Now we have 7 people watching at this point in time. Make sure those 7 people do comment for me. We would appreciate it very much. We'll look at comments in a few seconds here. But tonight's class is the night's. Well, I guess this is a class. I like to say it's a class. It's a PowerPoint presentation. It comes from one of our students. It comes from one of our subscribers. Our subscriber sent us a question. I guess she has some children, and she was asking when's the proper time to teach my child to shoot. And we're going to cover a lot of that information. This class is going to be very helpful for someone who's trying to figure out when is the best time. Now, there are a few things that we need to talk about this evening before we start this. I am not telling you to let your child have a firearm and play with it without adult supervision. We need to be very conscious of what the child is doing at all times, whether with a fork in a light switch or a firearm. Firearms can be deadly if they're not used properly, but anything else in the home could be deadly if it's not used properly. Education is a very important thing. I don't think we need to hide the firearm from the children. I think we need to educate the children and get them in. Speaking of children, we do have, excuse me about all that stuff. I'm trying to get the soda, man. We do have our kids' shootouts are back, and we have one this Saturday coming up, the 17th, 9 to 12. And this is we give the child a rifle, we give them safety briefing. We have my family starts them out, and we have one of the family members of the kid finish them out, and we give them ammo, and these are great ways to introduce your child to the indoor range without spending a lot of money and time. You don't need a rifle, you don't need anything but them passion to want to do it, and we're here to help you with that. Those are available on our website as well. This is a great opportunity. We always do these every year. We do probably 6 or 8 times a year we do one. Most of them are done through, themes or anything else, and these kids are gonna get balloons and tin cans and, any reactionary target. They are single shot rifles that we use. We do educate them on safety. We do educate them on how to run the gun properly, how to run the rifle properly, and if they're old enough, we'll let them shoot a pistol as well, to how to educate them on a pistol. These are fun times. They're about 35 to 40 minutes, and it gives you ability to be private, kids only at this point in time. No other people are shooting around the kids. Even the parents can't shoot around the kids. They're there just to support the child. And then these are great opportunities for you too. So we have a lot of different stuff we can do for you guys if you have an opportunity. If you haven't visited our website, I would highly recommend you do that. That's www.firearmstraining by johngjohnson.com. And if you have that ability to look at that website, there's a ton of stuff, ton of reviews and other things. Now, keep in mind, guys, we are a live range. We have people in the back shooting at this point in time. You may have hear some gunshots here or there, but we are a live range as well, and we're open till 7 o'clock. And I do these classes, I do these lives or these podcasts from 6 to 7 because you guys requested it. That being said, if you're looking for a different time or you think a different time would work better for us, or if you're looking for any kind of information that we're not giving you yet, please give us a recommendation. Let us know what you're wanting to see or helping. Like this lady's asking, when should I introduce my children to firearms? And I did 10 things I thought were very important that we need to look at prior to answering this question. Now, I don't know anything about this young lady except what she asked me. She is a subscriber of ours. Matter of fact, guys, we're just about to hit 28,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is blows my mind to think about that. When we started, Johnny and I started this thing um, a year and a half ago, and I remember having 36 subscribers. And I told Johnny, now I had this YouTube channel since 2018, and I did very little with it. And I talked to Johnny about helping me get it off the ground. And Johnny and I sat down and put two things together. At one time, we were doing 5 videos a week. 5 videos a week. We were posting them, doing everything. Now we're down to doing a couple lives, a live a week. Live becomes a podcast, and we normally do our videos around the podcast or around the thing. So we're still having fun doing this. It's still a passion of mine, and we are very appreciative to everybody who comes onto these lives of the podcast and sits there and listens to us. It humbles me each week. Let's check our comments out real quick and see who's here. Okay, we always know Miss Natasha is here. Miss Johnson said hello. Hello, Heidi. I love you, baby. Will be tomorrow to eat all the chocolate. Yes, Mr. Dash, and there'd be some chocolate for you too. You are one of my Valentines. You're not my Valentine. Miss Johnson's my Valentine, but as far as one of my Valentines, you surely are. When that was a funny story. Miss Johnson and I went shopping the other day to a store to buy the roses and the box of chocolate, and, we were joking and kidding, and the lady goes, "How many?" Heidi said to me, "How many do you need?" And I said, "You know I need 15 roses for my 15 girlfriends." And the little old lady looked over at me. She said she had a facial expression like, "Are you kidding me?" And of course, we'd already bought 15 boxes of chocolate, so it kinda looked like that, so we appreciate that. All right. So let's get on to this PowerPoint presentation of the laws of the kids shootout. And before we start this, I want to talk to you real quick about children and safety. Children and firearm safety. You know it's your responsibility to keep any firearm away from a child. Your job is to keep these firearms away that they can't get to them, can't use them, or anything else like this. When we're talking about teaching your child to shoot, this is with you, not without you. No gun should be available for a child to get into, touch, feel, shoot, or have anything else to do if there no parent is around. And when I talk about children, I'm talking about anybody who is at an age where you feel they're not going to be, Florida has 18 you can possess, 21 you can buy. Um, you know, teenagers, some teenagers nowadays have firearms because their parents got them for them. Just be careful with that because you know your child, but you don't know your child's friends. And there becomes the challenge for you. So keep in mind, all firearms need to be put away, stowed away, that somebody that's not supposed to touch them can't touch them. That's number one thing. I'm not giving you this PowerPoint presentation telling you that you need to make sure your children know everything they can about firearm safety. That's yes, but not touching the gun without a parent's approval or permission. All right. So this is pretty cool. This is a picture from the last Valentine's thing we had, and this is one of our great customers, Aaron Breeze. He owns an aluminum company, and this is one of his little kids, and we brought that rifle in for him to shoot. I don't know if you can see in the back, but there's balloons and tin cans and stuff like that. And Aaron was graceful enough to let me use this picture to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. This dad is hands on with these children. He actually has an outdoor range at his house, and he is very adamant about making sure his children know everything they can about safety, and they love to shoot these kids. So well, I'm very proud of him. He's a great father. Great father. His mother, the wife is very good, and they've got great kids. Top tips for introducing kids to handgun shooting. And this is kind of where I want to get to. And I pretty much recommend, really, in the realm of things, that we start every kid out with a rifle. The rifle will allow them more control. The rifle will be more accurate for them and make it a lot easier for them. But that does not mean that you cannot have a kid shoot a pistol. But there's certain things we need to get to. Tip number one is start with education and teaching your child about firearm safety rules. Now, the NRA put together something years ago to teach kids about gun safety, and it starts with the mantra: "Stop, don't touch, leave the area, tell adult." These are important things because we need to make sure that when we having fun with the gun, that the kids know that a gun is fun, but it's not a toy, and it's not something that you should be touching without adult supervision. So make sure your children know all that stuff. And now you guys know the gun safety rules, but we're going to put them up again just to make sure. Our number one rule here, and we talk to students every day. I'm going to take a sip of water here. I apologize. Is treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Now, if the weapon is loaded, you know what's next. Your fingers should not be on the trigger. If you can remember this, guys, booger picker off the bang button. That's the key thing. That's a kind of a little jokey thing we say here, but it puts people in mind. A weapon is always loaded, a magazine in, magazine out. Most semi-automatic pistols will fire, so you need to make sure that you understand how to unload them and load them. So treat a weapon if it's uh, uh, always loaded. Keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to fire. Never point the weapon at anything you love and don't want to destroy, and always keep the weapon pointing down range. And this says make sure of your target and what's beyond. This is important because if you're shooting at something and you don't know what's behind it, that becomes a challenge for you as well. This is something you can start your children out very young. You do not need to get them to the range to teach them safety rules. The safety rules were taught to me by my father very, very early. We had BB guns, we had all kinds of stuff, but we never ever touched a firearm or never picked a firearm, had our finger on the trigger. That was one of the things dad made sure that education. Of course, I was in Boy Scouts and the Boy Scouts had that as well. And that's kind of one of those things we need to get our head around because majority of the time when I go to gun shows and we're at these shows, kids picking up these guns off these tables, parents are letting them do it without understanding the dangers of picking up a weapon. Even though those weapons are at a gun show and they're tied up and they got zip ties in them and they assume the weapons loaded, you still only see a few people, not children, adults. You hardly ever see them not pick the weapon up with their finger on the trigger. And that's one of the things that makes the gun go bang is you, not the weapon itself. So, number one, start with education. Before you even take them to the range, before you ever do anything else like that, make sure they understand the safety rules and the importance of responsible handling. This is something you can watch videos on. This is something you just do on hands on. I mean, they make airsoft weapons now that look just like regular firearms. And you can really educate your child with that. That's what I did with the boys. The boys themselves were very young at one time, and now they're both taller than me, which I don't know how that happened, but those kids were always disciplined about keeping their finger off the trigger, never pointing the weapon at anything, doing all that stuff. But we shot an awful lot. I was never worried about my boys doing something dumb with a gun. I was always worried about them going somewhere else with a gun where someone else's parents weren't safe. And I normally didn't let them go anywhere I didn't know the parents anyway, so that was kind of one of those deals. All right, so here we go. Focus on the fundamentals. Prioritize teaching to your child how to properly grip a handgun, aim a handgun, control the handgun. Again, we talk about handguns a lot in this PowerPoint because the handguns are a little harder to shoot. Now we need to make sure that the weapon is going to fit. Now, I kind of I'm bouncing around here a little bit with rifles and pistols because it all depends on the child. It all depends on the grip size. It all depends on what we're trying to do. There isn't the proper age. I guess she was looking for an age I should tell her, and there is no age I can tell you. If you got a 7 or 8 year old that you can physically tell all this stuff to, and they get it and they're good, no problem. But you got a 13-year-old that you got to consistently explain it over and over and over again. Maybe it's time to maybe let them spend a little bit more time learning before you take them to the range. That's the kind of deal. But the fundamentals are important. Fundamentals could be taught multiple different ways. YouTube videos are a good way. Hands-on is always the best. You can actually use airsoft for this. You can use BB guns for this. You can use 22s for this. One of the things I make sure we don't want to overgun a child, and we're going to get to a slide here in a little bit, but most people want to bring their children here. And this is kind of what gets me why I want to do this all the time. We need the children. We want the children to want to shoot, but we don't want to scare the hell out of them either. And if you overgun a child and you only have a short window with these children, you understand. So if you take them to the range and you've overgun them and you're in an indoor range where everyone's shooting around you and it's loud and it's just too much on them, that's going to be at the end of it. They're not going to want to come again. And that's going to be devastating for us. So we want to make sure, make sure that the fundamentals have to be there. they want to do this. That's the one thing. We can't force anybody to do it. When you were forced to eat those peas that you don't like, you surely didn't like them, no matter what. If you were forced to eat them, especially if you're forced to eat them, this is the same thing here. We want the kids to have fun. We want them to be learn. They want to be educated. They want to have all that fun, but we don't want to overdo anything for them. And I see this happens a lot here with dads that want to come here and shoot 300 rounds and bring their kids, and their kids are done at 50. And now the kid's sitting on the bench back there on a stool, waiting for dad to get done with 200 rounds, where dad should only be really shooting 100 rounds himself. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, here's one good start. S- Tip number three is begin with a smaller caliber. Start with a BB gun or a 22 with less recoil. It's easier for kids to handle. It's easier for them to run. It's not a big recoil management issue you have. And at the very end of it, they're going to enjoy it a lot more. Now, for extra credit, can you tell me this rifle? Can you send me a comment below and tell me what movie was this rifle in? And I'll give you a hint. You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. There we go. Very popular at Christmas time. Very popular at Christmas time. This is the same rifle that I started the kids with. Number 4, teach responsible gun storage. We had a live last week about gun storage. Explain the significance of keeping a firearm locked in a safe and out of reach of children. Look at this gun, it's double locked. That's a Glock 19. It's got double locks in the cable. Now, what you see here is a child cable lock. Now, oh, that lock all comes in the boxes. Most of them all have there. By law they have to be in there. If it's a brand new gun, most used guns most must be sold with them as well. And this child safety lock allows the cable to go through there, and it keeps the gun from magazine going in the weapon and keeping it out of children's hand. Now, can that cable be busted? Yes, it can. Can that cable be cut? Yes, it can. But ideally, it just gives them a little bit less, they have to work harder to get it off there, if that makes sense. I've tried to cut these cables once before with a pair of pliers. You're not doing it. You need something a little bit bigger than that. But this is what you look at as a cable lock system. Cable lock system. They make trigger lock systems. Cable locks. The only problem with the cable lock system, what do you see here? Now, if you lock this gun up to make sure your kids are safe, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to grab the keys to unlock both of these locks to put the magazine in the racket to get to the bad guy. Absolutely not at that point in time. So that's kind of one of those cable lock systems are great for long storage, I guess is what but overnight situation, they make table safes and things like that that you could use that would make it easier that you could put them on there. And we had that video last week, that tabletop push button safe. You could put the gun in there, push 4 buttons, and it pops open. The gun's ready to be used at that point in time. But the kids themselves would not have the combination of that. Responsible gun storage, that's the key thing we need to teach them as well. Make sure it's fun. Uh, Make sure to gradual introduce shooting in a controlled environment. Start it with shorter distances and then advance gradually. I don't know if you can see, but these are tin cans. We do the kids shootout. We do balloons and tin cans and things like that. This is all about reactionary targets. When I was a little boy, my father and I had a army battle every Saturday. Dad was a mailman, and he got off about 12 o'clock on Saturdays. And when he got home, I had all the army men out in the yard. Now, when I say army man, I'm not talking about those little tiny green things you're talking about. When I was talking about army man, I'm talking about something that's about 6 to 8 inches tall. My mother worked at a church, and the Methodist church downtown had a thrift store. and they would always bring these army men in, and I would buy all the army men I had because I had to do dishes at the church for my mom. She'd give me a couple dollars to go to the thrift store, and I'd buy all those army men, and I'd put all the army men out, and I'd spray my army men were blue, and my dad's army men were red, and then we would take the rifle BB guns, and you shot until you missed. And I would go out there and have the glass of tea waiting for dad, and he'd come out on the patio, and he said, "You ready?" I go, "Yep, I'm ready." And I would go and I'd start shooting, and I'd get him all the way down to about, maybe 5 or 6 of his men left, and then all of a sudden, dad learned how to shoot, and he'd wipe me out at the end there. I never won that game, never ever won that game. But I had such a blast, and he would tell me about how to breathe when I shot and keep control of it, and tip of my finger and slowly press the trigger and all that stuff like that. But these things like this that make shooting fun, this is going to want those children going to want to do it more and more and more. That's why we need to make everything we do with a child when it comes to a firearm is educate, motivate, and entertain. Those 3 things, that's why we start this channel, educate, motivate, entertain. We want to teach a kid to shooting, you wanna do exactly the same thing because those 3 things will keep these children into shooting. And guess what? Those children become teens, and those teens become adults, and those adults become parents, and those parents introduce their children into shooting, and that's all we're looking for. Allowing these children to shoot extends our Second Amendment rights as much as anything else. And educating a child with this scenario is a lot better. I heard a story one time. Take your kids hunting, and you're never going to hunt your kids. And that's sort of the same thing. They want to do something with you. You do something with them that gives them something they can pass on and have fun with. Okay. Number 6, you need to make sure they understand all the shooting range rules. Teach your child about the importance of obeying range commands and respecting other shooting lanes. And this is no joke there because although we have to teach this to parents all the time here, adults here about respecting other people's lanes, not shooting in other lanes, running the gun, keeping their finger off the trigger, on and on and on. These are all things we need to make sure uh, we're teaching ourselves. And don't forget, children emulate their parents. So when you're at the range, they're watching you, man. So you need to be as disciplined as possible. So when they see what you're doing, they want to do exactly the same thing. So do you know all the rules? If you don't know all the rules, you need to make sure you understand all the rules so you can teach all those rules to the kids. Here at our range, all the rules are written down. We're always open to you asking any question at all. A lot of the ranges in town don't let kids go shooting in them because of the fact that they're not a training facility compared to us being a training facility. Only thing I see a problem with is when we are on a Saturday or a Sunday when kids want to come shoot. Sometimes people in the range could be shooting a shotgun, they could be shooting an AR-15, they could be shooting a larger caliber weapon, which is somewhat intimidating for a child if they haven't been around, especially indoors. Outdoors isn't so bad, but indoor ranges, you're getting the concussion coming off the walls as well. So it becomes a little more challenging for some people. But emphasizing the rules, the regulations, the range commands, all that stuff like that. Remember, these kids are sponges. They just want to suck up the knowledge as much as possible. And your job is to give it to them. This is common, but the eye and ear, encourage eye and ear protection. I know for me as a young man, going out shooting, grabbing a 22, I didn't wear earmuffs very much when I was a little kid, and I'm suffering for it now, including, I wear earmuffs all the time now, but I'm a little hard of hearing. Um, what? I said I'm a little hard of hearing. Couldn't hear you. What'd you say? Loud noises and potential debris. One of the most important things I could give you some advice or, and I see it all the time, is get a pair of muffs that'll fit a child. Don't over put big muffs on a child's ears because they don't cover them up as well. We are a big Walker company here. We sell Walker earring wear and eyewear. A lot of the smaller muffs for kids work better for kids, but you got to make sure when the kids put the glasses on that the muff is completely um, covering their ears. You remember, they're not gonna be able to tell you that it's loud unless it's really loud, and you can always foam up, use the soft foam first, and then put earmuffs on top of that if you'd like. That could help a child. Once you lay down, the ear is full of hair elements, and once you lay down those hair elements, they don't come back up, so that's why you gradually lose your hearing as you go. And so we want to make sure we're teaching kids to shoot. They bring all the proper protection air. You know, we get a lot of spall that's traveling in the range. It happens everywhere, but in an indoor range like ours, that spall can come back. And if you don't have a pair of safety glasses on, you could impact your eyes very quickly and cause a real unrepairable situation. So eyewear, earwear, always. Even shooting airsoft, even shooting BB guns, those need to be on at all times. You only have two pair of eyes. You don't want to lose one by not wearing the proper gear. Right? Supervision. This is imperative. I see it here at the range every once in a while. I have to go back and tell it about dad's on the back counter loading a magazine and the kid's up on the front counter of the front range shooting a pistol. In a nice way, I go back and I tell dad that you are not supervising that child because at that point, your hand should be on that child's back and control them as much as possible. Never leave your child unattended by handling a handgun. And that 7 feet from the back cabinet to the front range is 7 feet. Your arms aren't that long. Your job is to be consistent, present, for essential for safety. And this is one of the most important things I can give you. You see this young man here shooting this pistol. It looks like it's a 1911 22. I don't think it's a 45. He's kind of small for that. But look that where that guy is. He's got his right there. He is right there to grab that pistol in case there's an issue or a problem. Supervision is very important. That's what I do with my students. I don't care if you're 88 or you're 8. I'm gonna be there close enough that I can hold you, control you, and make sure there's no, unintentional stuff that happens that you don't know. Because recoil management is one of the challenges that we have to teach every student, and, if they haven't shot a pistol before, they don't know how much to hold that gun or hold that weapon until it shoots because recoil is one of those things that you have to teach them. And having some way of supervising them to a point where you can protect them is key, is very key, to be honest with you. Yeah, supervision. All right. Number 9, promote responsible target selection. Now, this was big for me when I was little. When boys were little, I hated all those people shooting games. The old. I know I'm sounding funny now, but when they're shooting people and they're shooting this is one of our kids' shootout targets. Look at this thing. You got the flying pigs, you got the rabbits, you got the ducks. It's an arcade game. This is better. This is stationary. You could put we use these, we use balloons, we use tin cans, we use a lot of different stuff. that aren't silhouettes of people. Now we have silhouettes of people here for our adults for the purpose of using a concealed carry weapon for training purposes. But with a child, we need to make sure that we make it as fun as possible. You don't need to get all fancy. You can do tic-tac-toe out there, you can do little boxes, you can do a ton of stuff. We use a ton of paper plates here. Paper plates are a good target as well. A secondary target could be a 3 by 5 card, but they're not focusing on a person, and this is kind of one of those deals. This is where most people some of the ranges in the United States can't even use a man silhouette. That's kinda how weird some of the places are. Obviously, it's just a piece of paper, but at the end of it, we want them to focus on accuracy as much as possible and getting them a target that gives them the ability to see the accuracy. I don't know if you ever heard of shoot and sees, but the shoot and see target basically, when you hit it, it shows a day glow mark. So it gives you the ability to let them know where they're impacting, and that's kind of one of the fun little things there they can do. When we do the kids shootout, we give them balloons, and the balloons go fast, and we give them the tin cans, and those fall off pretty quick. And then we get the kids out there trying to hit the bullseyes or the bunnies and things like that to really tighten their groups up and stuff like that. And you'd be surprised how many of these kids. Some of these kids have been with us for years. I mean, that we've been doing the kid shootout since 19, early 20, I think it is. And some of these kids have grown up coming here and shooting on a regular basis. Now they're coming with their parents. They're shooting on a regular basis with us too, which is awesome. But I would promote target selection. You could do zombies and things like that, or aliens and stuff. But let them have fun. This is the whole idea that we want the kids to have fun. So, the more fun they have, and the more they want to do it. That's the key thing. So, promote responsible target selection. All right. Yeah, and here's another one. There's back Aaron and the little guy. This is something that people sometimes don't pay attention to, where an instructor does. Uh, those emotional cues, if they are acting kind of shyish or they're acting uncomfortable at all, we want to figure out what it is. What's the anxiety or the uncomfortable? Take a break and address their concerns. Now, the challenge of this, you may have to take them out of the range. You may have to see what's going on. And maybe they're not holding it right. Maybe the recoil management is causing them to be a little bit more and timid. Maybe the guy shooting next to you, the casings are coming over and it's making them uncomfortable. Here's that mm, next thing we got to get our head into. We want them to tell us that they want to do it again, and if they're uncomfortable or anxious or anything, we want to make sure that we're addressing all that, because it could be just as easy is the gun's not fitting their hand, or they don't know what they're supposed to be aiming at. Shooting's not complicated, it's complex, but there's a lot of little things we can do to make it more acceptable for them to do what they need, make it bigger targets. In other words, if we're trying to go out there, I mentioned to you before, a father brings his kid, great, wonderful, love that, man. He brings a 22 rifle for his son, perfect, wonderful. Now, dad brought an AR-15 and he brought 2 pistols for himself. Now, he let his kid shoot 50 rounds. His kid was done. So now dad's got him sitting on a chair at the range while dad shoots 250 rounds of ammo, and the kid is bored out of his mind. Do you think he wants to come back? This is why when we talk about when you take your kid hunting or you take your kid fishing or you do anything else like that, don't pick your fishing rod up. Don't take your rifle with you. Let's focus on the child. Focus on him having fun. You could shoot the same pistol he shoots. You don't need to bring a third pistol or fourth pistol. We want them to have fun. That's why we do these kid shootouts. Nobody else is in the range but the kids. We focus on the kids. The kids are the most important thing. Or my family comes in and gets them started. And we take some of these family members who have never shot a pistol before or a rifle, and we introduce them and their child to the weapon, which is pretty cool if you think about it. Because a lot of the parents nowadays are wanting their kids to get this education because it's not coming from the place you think the education comes from. You know, the GUNS is a bad word. We need to make sure that we let the kids know that it's not a bad word. It's something that they need to understand and educate themselves on. All right. I told you before, this is controversial to have your child or your kid uh, shooting. People don't think kids are old enough, mature enough to do this, but they surely are. We have them here. We have them in here every week, so it's not something you can't do. It's something that we need to get our head around and help them become more proficient and more uh, comfortable. If that gets you get the idea of that. When should you teach your how to use a gun? We mentioned to you you should teach your child some basic facts about guns as soon as they're able to understand. Now, this is something that we just got to get our head around. I told you before the appropriate age is your age that you think the child is going to be. You could take a 6 year old, and that 6 year old could understand and be very, Johnny, my oldest boy, he was whew, he was smart. I don't know where he came from. Obviously, he came from Heidi, but Heidi's very, very smart. But I wouldn't say I was. But he could do a lot of stuff at a very young age, and he gravitated to a lot of different stuff. Dinosaurs was Johnny's thing, man. He was 4, maybe 5 years old, and was telling me the full names of the dinosaurs. Not T-Rex, he was giving you the full name of the T-Rex, and he was telling you each one of them and where they ate and what they did and how tall they were. That kid could have done anything he wants to do, and it was easy for him, and that's kinda why I could say there's no set age. Here's what I'll tell you: take the pistol or take the rifle. Put the pistol or rifle in their hand. Can your child hold that pistol, hold that rifle up by themselves? If they can, that's the first start. Now, from there, take the pistol or the rifle, put them on it, see if their trigger finger fits exactly where it needs to be. Obviously, make sure the gun is unloaded, and let's set this rifle on their chest or their shoulder, or put the handgun in their hand, give them the proper grip, and make sure that they can physically get their finger around the trigger. Now, if that happens, okay, that's another growing thing now. Now, I would highly recommend if we're doing a pistol that we start with a 22. Now, caveat of this, when there's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way to 18, his children are still a child at 18, right? Barely, but they are. All of those children should never shoot a 22 first. They should shoot a 9 millimeter first. Anybody under the age of 13 and down, I would highly recommend you start them out with a 22 and then move them once they're comfortable to a 9. Anybody who is above that age should be shooting 9 millimeter first, and then we can shoot down to a 22. The challenge for most people is if I put a 22 in your hand and you shoot any caliber before the 22 or after the 22, they're all going to seem like high caliber weapons. And that's kind of way I would put it out. What's the right age? The right age is you know your children better than anybody else. So if you think your child is ready, here's what I'll tell you to do. 3 things you should do. Number 1 is if you don't know the proper rules and regulations to a point where you can get yourself comfortable teaching your child, I would highly recommend that you take a training class with you and your significant other, your daughter, your son. Now, if your son and daughter are below the age of 11, I would highly recommend that you come to one of the classes and let us help you with that as much as possible. But once you've done that, you guys can come in and shoot on a regular basis, no issue. Now, if you don't own a 22, obviously we have these 22s for rentals for most of the stuff, but there is no age. And I sort of told the lady the same thing. I sent her an email. I found out a little bit more. She had two daughters. Two daughters were 8 and 13, and their stepfather had taken them shooting a couple times out in the yard. Oh, they lived in but nothing was really done. They were just shooting basically. And she wanted to get them more educated. And I gave her some information and gave her this stuff here. And she told me she got to an instructor, and an instructor helped them out. So, highly recommend anytime you could get an instructor to help you get the knowledge you need, you should do that. Once you've got that, you just got to spend time doing it. You know your child better than anybody else, so there is no age appropriate until you think it's the right age. That's what I'll tell you. That's kind of what I do. We have our kids shootout. Those kids shootouts are starting at 8 years old and go to 14 because these rifles are small. But obviously, they could do anything you want to do. All right, that is the presentation there. I got a question for you though. One of my questions is, let me get out of this thing here and flip me back to my beautiful face. There I am. Tell me when you learned to shoot a pistol, if you could. That's kind of one of those deals. A lot of people learn at a very young age. I can tell you, my father took us. A lot of times we lived in a 2-acre place, so we could shoot in the backyard. I think I had a BB gun. I think I had a BB gun at a very young age too. We had fun doing that. My dad set up a lot of reactionary targets. This is kind of something you could do too. Let's say you get an airsoft. Let's say you get a BB gun. You could take a 2x4, put a 2x4 between two. Uh, my dad used 5-gallon cans. We put a 5-gallon can, 5-gallon can, put a 2x4 across. You put 10 cans on top of the of the 2 by 4, and we'd shoot them off, and they would fall and ding and bang, and it was kinda cool, and then we'd call cold range, and we'd go out and set them all back up. What dad did, though, was he was so sick of going out and setting them up all the time that he tied a rope to them, and what he did was he put them on top of the 2 by 4, and when it fell, it the rope caught it, and then it was swinging, and we were able to shoot it again, so we got the second shot, and we did that for years and years, and we went from a 22 we went from the, the the BB gun to the 22, to the 22, to the 9 millimeter, and it was just always something fun we could do, and the tin cans didn't last very long with the 9 millimeter, but once you were able to do it, you get those reactionary targets, and it was always fun, always fun. I love my dad. He would go out there with that single shot Rough Rider. He would take those single action cowboy guns and just shoot away, and have such a amazing how accurate he was with that gun. I couldn't hit the side of the barn with it. My dad, I asked my dad one time, "Dad, how do you shoot that thing?" He said, "Gotta shoot with a can ain't, son. Gotta shoot with a can ain't." That's what Daddy always said. All right, so let's see if we can go up and look at some of these comments we have here today. I already talked about Natasha and Heidi. Papa Weasel checking in, beautiful babe. Glad you're here, man. Danny, do I have any pictures of the kids shooting when they were little? Probably. I have to look for some of that. TJ Myers, TJ, how you doing, buddy? Good. Thank you for commenting. Um, he says you teach your kids not to touch a hot stove or look both ways when you cross the street. You could darn well teach your child firearm safety. Amen, brother. Amen. Great comment, TJ. Great comment. Great comment. That was awesome. I love that. I love that. Looked like he commented in two places. Look at Facebook. He's coming from. So, I could tell you that there's a lot of stuff that we could spend a lot of time talking about children, but you first and foremost, you got to make sure that whatever you do with them, that you have fun with it. Taking a kid. I know when the kids were little, fishing was one of those things that, you can only spend so much time. I could spend all day fishing and not catch a damn thing, but I enjoyed it. You can't take a kid out and not catch a damn thing. You gotta catch. You gotta catch. You gotta catch. You gotta catch. Same thing. When the boys were little, I took them deer hunting, and many years ago, I had a deer lease, and I had 4 tree stands, and 3 of those tree stands had corn feeders at them. And this is in Florida, and it was a bow hunting only lease. And I take those boys, and from my house to the lease was an hour and 20 minutes. So we go on a Saturday, and I would take them out there, and we spoiled the hell out of them because every time that feeder went off, there was animals there and everything else like that. So when we started hunting up management areas, and they would go and they would sit for 3 hours and not see one animal, they got very bored very quickly. That was my fault because I spoiled them at the old lease. Uh, but these are the things we want to make sure the kids have fun. We want to make sure they enjoy it because you want them to go with you on a regular basis, and that's the beauty of that. All right. Any comments out there? What's everyone doing for Valentine's? Do you know yet? Do you know? I told you before our Valentine's group concealed carry class is tomorrow night. You have an opportunity to join us. We'd love to have you. Most people aren't from here, but this is being posted on Facebook Live as well. And that couple's Valentine, you will get a free rose and a box of chocolate. We are going to have a few gift card giveaways that night as well. It's only open to 15 couples, and I think right now we only have like 5 spots left. So if you'd like to join us, we would love to have you. You can visit our website to get signed up for that. Like I said before, if there's only a few spots left, but if you have an opportunity for 99.99, you're going to get the group concealed carry class. We're gonna give you the ammo. We're gonna give you all the paperwork you need to get your concealed carry on top of that free rose and that box of chocolate. Box of chocolate. Life's like a box of chocolate. All right. And then if you have kids and you're looking to do something fun with that, we physically have our kids shootout this Saturday coming up, the 17th. And this is going to get the kids in here. We got Valentine targets. We have the bag of candy, Valentine's candy for them. And there's only a few spots left on that. This is it starts at 9 to 12, and there's four spots, 4 times, 5 spots apiece. And I think there's like 4 or 5 spots left on this as well. On top of that, if you are being bad and haven't got your gift or anything for your significant other, ladies, you got a hard shopper you need to shop for, we do have our gift cards here. These gift cards can be picked up and they can be used for any of our services, whether it be firearms training, weapon purchases, or any kind of training class we offer, or anything that any services that we have, you can get that up. Now, if you can't make it here tomorrow, we actually offer an email service as well. We could email you one of these gift cards as well, which would be an awesome little deal like that. All right, let's pop that off there. All right, and it is about an hour long. We're about 55 minutes here. We'll take 5 more minutes and see what if we have any more comments coming out here. Danny Schultz, and we'll say thank you to everybody who's on the live tonight. Very cool. YouTube switched up and now we have a podcast section on our YouTube. We're working on, if you go to YouTube Music, you can download our podcast and watch it when you want to. We're still going to do these live. We're calling these live podcasts now because they are part of our podcast system. Most of your are audio only, but with the YouTube live system, they are allowing video podcast, and this is how we like to do it. We would love to invite you to come. We would love to invite you to come shoot with us if you're local here, and if you're not local, we could love to get you in a plane and get you here. We actually have one of our people from last week, one of our members, Jim, made an appointment. He's going to be in Orlando next week, and he's going to try to shoot down here and shoot with us, and hopefully we can get him on video. That'll be awesome. That would be kind of a double double there, which would be there. Um, if nothing else, I'd like to tell you three things. God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. Happy Valentine's, guys. Make sure you give your significant other a big kiss from me, and hopefully you can enjoy. There's that kiss. There's that kiss. Hopefully you'll enjoy a good night, and hopefully you can seven. uh, hopefully you can enjoy that time with your significant other. And me and Miss Johnson, we're gonna do what we do every Valentine's. We're gonna be at a Valentine's group concealed carry class, and I may take her to dinner after that if she's good. If she's good, well, she is good. She puts up with me. She's good. She's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the podcast for this week. We're looking to see you next week. I love you very much. You are my world, and I appreciate you always and always for being here. Until the end, we're going to play our music out of here and see you next week. Love you guys.